Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversations. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Hello, hello, hello. I have a question for you. Have you ever felt completely lost? You know, seeking purposeful direction that could and should propel your mission within your divine journey to that next level, but still it hasn't happened. Well, my name is Lauren Michaels Harris, and I'm the founder of P3, the Journey Series. People come to me because they're wounded. Many are scared, and even there are those who are bruised simply because they feel that they are increasingly, for whatever reason, losing their ability to dream. Now, this P3 program is not for a person who's just looking to start a business, no, but rather for those of you out there who have been on your journey and you've been navigating within your divine purpose, but you still desire to elevate to that level that you have not reached yet. If this is appealing, if this describes you, then I want to have a chat with you. I want to hear your story. So use the link below to get registered for your free seat at P3, the Journey Series. And let's get started, one story at a time. I'll see you inside. Click the link.
Before you get it, baby, show me your soul. And honey, I'll show you mine. I'll show you mine. Boy, I'm standing right here holding up a sign, shamelessly displaying my state of mind. You walk right past me, pretending like you don't see what's yours for the taking tonight.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Yay! It is Tuesday. Tuesday. Has anyone ever written a song about Tuesdays? Rainy days and Mondays. Ruby Tuesday or so. Okay, there's one. Okay, Tuesday. Yeah, the 14th. One of my angel numbers. Yes. I am so excited to be here. It's a beautiful day. Slight light snow flurries here in the Chicagoland area. What's the weather shaping up like in your neck of the woods? I'd like to know. Put it in the comments, if you will. Come on in, everybody. Welcome to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. Dr. Lauren with you. Say good morning to my sidekick, Miss Lucy McGillicuddy Ricardo. She's been here all 9 years. This is the 9th year. And because this is the week that we go syndicated, I am wearing the original robe from 9 years ago, the Ratty Teddy original robe and the original Lucy mug. So just goes to show you guys, I just want to put this in there real quick, seriously, all the joking aside, is
hold on to those things, reattach, remember yourself to those things. I remember, I'm just going to give you a little short story real quick before we get our guest, Dr. Jim Houck, in here today. I remember when I moved from the Salvation Army shelter, from being homeless, into my studio apartment, how I had nothing but the clothes on my back and a stolen roll of toilet paper from the BP gas station down the street from the apartment. And I remember before I went to bed, I used the bathroom and I was like, oh, I got a little pee on the toilet seat. Oh, let me use some of my toilet paper to wipe it off, right? And then I didn't have any bedding, nothing. I slept on the carpet, which was still damp from them doing the carpets. And I was happy. I was just so happy to be on that floor, safe and sound in my own space. And I remember when I woke up, I said, well, at least I slept on my own floor. And boy, what a difference mindset makes. It really does. And I want to say the reason I bring that in is because today Dr. Jim is here, and he's just a renowned therapist working in the area of acute trauma. And with so much going on, I have so many different things I want to ask him today. I want to get him in here, but I have a couple announcements real quick. You heard me say, yes, we are going syndicated this week. So next week, this time, you'll be able to watch this show on Tubi and also on places like Pluto. So God is good all the time and all the time. You better believe it. You better believe it. Universe, God, anything greater than yourself. I want to invite you, each of you, to join me, should you be anywhere around the Boston area. I'll be there, actually, the March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, but I'll be keynoting on March 2nd at PitCon. It is a conference for chemists. I know. What in the world, right? They hired me, so I'll be there talking on the ripple effect. Join us at the Boston Convention and Exhibition Center, or if you're a good friend, close buddy, and you want to just grab a coffee, let me know. I'll do my best to do it. Also, here we go. Listen, I'm going to put the link in. Get over. Tomorrow night is the second of my 4-part series, absolutely free, 90 minutes. Each week, every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central, the Mindset Revolution free webinar, Setting the Table for Abundance in 2025. And tomorrow, we're going to be focusing on, I want to get it completely right. So I got so much stuff on this desk. Tomorrow, week 2, building momentum, overcoming barriers and sparking consistent growth. Now, we'll also be able to give you the recording from last Wednesday's 90-minute webinar, which was Ignite Your Vision, how to craft a 2025 roadmap that is sure to inspire action. Not all that talking about it, dreaming about it, humming and hawing about it, but being about it. ING dictates that you're inside of some process. Oh, call me back. I'm sleeping. Can't go. I'm working. Oh, I'll get back at you at the moment I'm cooking. You're doing something when you use ING. So use it because you are a human being and not a human done. You're just getting started. So, okay, I'm going to put that. Matter of fact, I'm going to throw that banner up there so you can get over and register. I think we have like 40 people so far, but it's an interactive thing. I need you there so we can pour into each other. There it is. And I am going to drop that inside the chat for you before we get out of here today. Good morning to all of you. Come on in. Come on in. Here's breakfast. You guys know I'm doing the metabolic balance transformation, and I am on week 2 this Friday. I'll weigh in. It'll be day 13. In day 6, I had lost when I weighed 12.5 pounds and still moving. And today's breakfast is fruit, veggies. Those are mini cucumbers, some creamy goat cheese, and 1 dark rye cracker. And I know you're going, ew, that ain't no breakfast. Give me some pancakes, some sausage, and some. I'm trying to live, y'all. I'm trying to live, and I'm trying to live with quality of life, right? I don't want to be 85 in a wheelchair in some nursing home. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want. Not me. I'm trying to be the black male Betty White. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. Trying to ride this till the wheels fall off. Can I get an amen? Listen, I'm not scared. I'll be the first to throw one up. There it is. Amen and amen. Now come on over tomorrow night. Seriously, you guys. Get over there. Register. And matter of fact, I'm not even going to play with it today because I want to get Dr. Jim in here. We got a lot to talk about. But right now, I'm copying this because I feel somebody's watching that if you're like me, if you don't do it right now, it goes out one of those side doors. So in your comment section, as we speak, good morning, Mohammed in Afghanistan. How are you, my friend? It's good to see you. Hey, Mohammed, can you tell me one thing that you are definitely going to manifest this year, 2025? What's coming for you? What do you need in your life that's going to take it to the next level? Drop it in, because when we speak it, it begins the process of bringing it to us. Can I get an amen? Absolutely. We manifest up in here, y'all. There you go. I have dropped it. Register for this free webinar tomorrow night, you guys, at 7 p.m. It's going to change your life. I promise you, it's going to change your life. Okay. Oh, all right. So who do we have here today? We have Dr. James. He likes to be called Jim, so we'll call him Jim. I hope I'm saying his last name right. He is a clinical mental health trauma therapist. He works at a place called Thrive Works Coaching and Counseling, and he is also an internet radio personality with the BBS radio family. So we're glad to get him in here and get started. If you have any questions, comments, get at it. This is your chance to ask Dr. Jim just about anything. Share out this broadcast. Put some hearts on the screen. It's our way of saying welcome. Here comes our guest, Dr. Jim, down the hallway. He's on his way in. Dr. Jim, how are you?
Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. Congratulations on those 9 years. That's great.
Thank you.
That is wonderful. Excellent.
Thank you. Now, you speaking of, I can hear it now. I can hear that radio voice. I started in radio years ago, and I want to know, let me hold on. I'm sending this message real quick. How long have you been in radio? Where'd you get your start?
I started right at the pandemic. I was just, I'm in my 5th year with BBS Radio. And oh my gosh, it was just one of those things where it's like, you know what? I just felt led, it just felt like, pulled in that direction where, I contacted BBS Radio because I had been listening to them many years prior. And I just said, this is what I would like to pursue. I'd like to have a radio spot and so forth. And they go, well, okay, what did you have in mind? And I go, well, I know I can talk. And they took care of the rest. And so it's on every other Wednesday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Okay. And it's, like I said, internet radio. So it's www.bbsradio.com. And then there's / and then Reclaiming Authenticity. And then you want to click on Station 1 to hear those times. And actually, the next broadcast is coming up tomorrow night.
What do you talk about on there? Authenticity, but how give us a little Reader's Digest version.
Okay. All right. Well, I came up with the Reclaiming Authenticity, not just because I wrote a book about it, but what mainly these talks are on, reclaiming that which has always been in you. In other words, a lot of people don't realize, or they don't even know, to look inward to find the best of who they are. And so a lot of times when they go through something traumatic or overwhelming, looking inward is the last place they want to go, because it's so painful. There's so many layers to kind of undo or wade through. And that's the key. It's like, it's not that we want to get out of that stuff. It's like we get through it. And getting through those traumatic events, we come out on the other side, we learn something about ourselves.
Yes.
And we learn that we had the answers all along. And I take that one step further. It's not just about reclaiming that which you have always been, but also reclaiming exactly who you are and have always been. And because one of my firm beliefs is that everybody comes into this world with everything they already need in terms of their strengths, their giftedness, their grace, personalities, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
the very best of who they are, but they often don't believe it, or they don't see it, or they may have been told all their lives that, you're not going to amount to anything.
Yeah.
You're
You're just like
little,
your father,
mm,
not gonna
yeah.
do nothing.
Yeah, yeah. And like it doesn't take long for, I mean, little kids to hear that enough, and then they start to internalize it, and that kind of sets them on this trajectory of, why should I even bother? Because it's not going to work out. Or I've always been told that, maybe through a guidance counselor in school or neighbors, or maybe it's even the boss on the job. But rediscovering the best of who we are and reclaiming that and say, you know what, these are my gifts. They're not meant to be hoarded. They're meant to be shared. And when we share those gifts, and it's all based on relationships, but whenever we share those gifts, they don't diminish. In fact, they just flourish, and they just increase. And I mean, you talk about paying it forward. Even the slightest positive thing we do for somebody each day, maybe even a smile, or maybe like, hey, don't worry, I'll buy this cup of coffee for you.
Sure.
Hopefully that sparks something in them to like, I could do this too. I'm not a failure. I can be a blessing to somebody else. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Somebody else. Yeah. Y'all, you already know I'm gonna have to keep butting in. Whenever you have a show host that has their own show, you got
no worries.
When I'm on a show, I have to like put notes everywhere. Lauren, remember you're on this. I have one tonight, and I'm not kidding. I was on a show once. I think the host, after she introduced me, she didn't say another word till we'll see you next week. I was like, oh my God, I felt horrible. So anyway, but Jim, no, because I love the way I just love everything about you, but we could talk for hours. We've already proven that before the show. Listen, I want to do this. There's so much I want to cover, so let's get started. I want to go first to mindset, how we see things, because I'm going to show a little clip. Now, you're a trauma specialist, and I remember I was doing the Andrew Nemani show in New York City, and had a live audience and everything, and they were like, you know how when you say something that's like shocking and the audience goes, oh, and you hear it? Well, when I said, he goes, so tell us how you feel about trauma. And I was like, oh my God, I love me some trauma. And everybody else went, oh. So before I go on, let me just show, I came back to Chicago and I put a reel out about it. So I'm going to show you this. And then I want to hear, do you think I'm cray-cray? Take a look.
Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Lauren. Listen, some of you have heard me, maybe some of you have not, but I say it all the time and I mean it. I absolutely love myself some trauma. That's right. You know why I can say that and mean it? Because of this. When you understand that the value of your trauma is set by the price you paid when you were inside of that very trauma, you begin to see how all things certainly do work in your favor. Remember, it is like a surfboard. Ride it all the way to the beach and beyond. Trauma, it is triumph hiding in plain sight. Something to think about. Take that with you. Take it with you. And remember, there is value. You set the price when you paid the price. Have a divine day. See you soon.
That's what I mean, Dr. Jim. All of us in some way or another. Think of the people out in California right now.
Exactly.
And not just, there's extended trauma, because I have clients who can't pay their bills this month with me because they've had to send money out or put people in hotels. Their families are displaced and all this stuff. And so they're traumatized, and they could be 3,000 miles away from the wildfires. And so trauma is a thing that we don't choose. We can't get around. It shows up unannounced in most cases. But in my journey, I understand today that trauma was the moment that something greater than myself marked me for greatness. I really believe that. And that's what I tell, especially kids. Trauma is that moment that you were marked for greatness. And then one girl said to me once, what about the other 100 times after that first one? Those were gentle nudges to remind you, don't you dare forget, you were marked for greatness. So am I crazy to have that mindset, that approach to how I look at trauma? Because I feel if I've already lived it, it must be for a reason. Now, how can I use it to make something or someone, including myself, better?
Well, I wouldn't say that you're, you say, as you put it, cray-cray or crazy. I see where that comes from. That's definitely like, hey, I've been through it, and I can look back and it's like I've learned the lessons. I've seen the breadcrumbs. It's made me stronger, more resilient. And I always approach trauma as something that overwhelms us, overwhelms our resources, our mental capacities, our emotional stability, all of that. It could be something as small as, hey, I worked hard, I got a job promotion, I just have to move out of state to a different city. Well, that could be very traumatic too, because they're like little T traumas in that it's a change. And any kind of change in our lives kicks up a sense of loss. And where there's change and loss, there's going to be grief, because we're saying goodbye or we're leaving behind that which was so familiar to us, even though it might have been miserable or maybe it was fantastic and you've worked hard to get to a better place in your life. You're still letting that behind. And that's what trips up a lot of people in terms of those little T's. They tend to build up in our lives. And then when a big T trauma comes our way, like maybe a death of a loved one or a car accident or a natural disaster or something, those little T traumas come along for the ride. And as I explain it to my clients, trauma is, it sets this template, a distorted template. And we get used to seeing life this way. And, that trauma says to us that, well, okay, don't worry about this because that's all you're going to amount to anyway. Or that's the best that you can hope for. Or, this is just the way it's going to be. And that's that distortion. But over time, when, you correct that distortion and that trauma, a lot of people are still looking at life through this that. Way. Yeah. And it's like, wait a minute. Come back there. There you go. This is the way life is supposed to be. And it's hard because they're so used to doing it that way. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, but you know what that reminds me of? The old Adam West Batman show.
Oh yeah,
When there was one of the villains was in the scene, a crook.
Yeah, it was always tilted.
It was crooked. When it was a crook in the scene, it was crooked. When it was just the good people, it was clear and straight on. So I get what you're saying. And I love that they did that because it was a message behind a message. So when we look at it this way, how do you work with people to take it from here back to here? Or beyond?
Yeah, and definitely beyond. Because a lot of people want to say, well, I just want to get back to the way things were. And it's like, that's impossible. That's probably the first distortion we look at. Because we go through anything, a loss, little T trauma, big T trauma. We're shaped by our losses to a certain degree. We're never going to look at life the same way because our innocence has been shattered, or we've gotten so comfortable that that's been upended, and we don't know what else to do, because everything in life was so predictable. And then now what? Go ahead.
Before we get too far past that intersection, because I've never heard of it like this, but I love it already. Give us some examples, Dr. Jim, if you could, of a couple everyday little T traumas. What do those look like? Give us some examples. Flat tire on the side of the road in the middle of a rainstorm. As a big T trauma. My best friend Carolyn is getting a divorce and he's taking the children in the house. So am I on point? But give us some examples from where you sit, because you've heard just about all of it.
I'd be that close to hearing all of it, but I've heard enough. I've heard a lot. But those little T traumas, I guess the clinical textbook definition of trauma, what makes something trauma or traumatic, is that it overwhelms our resources. And Hans Seele, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, Seyle, he was the first one, just to come up with acute stress disorder, or how we get overwhelmed if, say, there is a stressor in our lives that just, okay, no problem, we can rise to the occasion, we can take care of this, like studying for a test or something. We have anxiety, but after the test is over, that anxiety goes away. Or after a fender bender, whatever, something slight, and okay, we deal with it, and then it goes away. But if a stressor, if something, is starting to move towards trauma, it's relentless. it starts to really tax our resiliency or our inner resources. And if it goes on long enough and severe enough, then we get to the point of exhaustion. And that's where we are totally overwhelmed, and we can be very stuck in our perceptions that trauma, well, that's going to be all there is. I can't see my way out of it. So a lot of it is in dealing with little t's and big T traumas, just what we tell ourselves, that internal dialogue of, well, if only I could have, or I should have, or I would have. And people start to ruminate on that, and it just, to get them to rethink and reframe those perspectives, such as the house is on fire, there's a dog in the house, you can hear it barking, and you want to get in there, you want to save this dog, but the flames are just so overwhelming, even to the point where the firefighters are backing away, and you can't get in there, and the dog perishes, unfortunately. And you might run that dialogue in your head of like, well, if I was only there 5 minutes earlier, or if I only, when I smelled smoke, jumped out, and and we just run with that guilt, and it can be so intertwined with shame of, well, I guess that's par for the course for me, because I was told I would never do anything great. So and that just gets layered again. But
layered and layered. Okay.
Yeah.
And I am blessed with ADHD. And so just know I'm probably gonna hop all over the place. Ooh, 999 of you. Somebody tell me what that angel number is. 999.
Yeah, it's gotta be something.
Gotta be something. Everything is something. But let's go here. So I want to ask you about this. How does this happen in trauma? What is this piece? What do you call this? I know there's PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. They say I have it. So many do. Is that showing up in my life when I have a dream? Like, for instance, we had 2 house fires when I was a kid. Sometimes I will dream that I'm smelling that smell that comes with a burned house. You know how it gets in everything.
Right. Yeah.
My first predator, I guess you'd call him, in the first foster home where there was a sexual thing. See, I can't even find the word. He chewed spearmint gum, and for years, as recently as 10 years ago, I could be in the car stuck in traffic on a freeway and have to open the door and retch outside of the car because suddenly an overwhelming smell of spearmint would permeate the car, and I was nowhere near anything spearmint. I wasn't thinking about that thing back when I was 10. I wasn't, nothing. Just out of seemingly nowhere, this overwhelming, like he's in the back seat or something, and to the point where it would trigger a physical response. So there's that. But then there's also people who I've talked to who have been recovered addicts or alcoholics for 20, 30 years, and they somehow are distracted and drive the route they used to drive when they went to that liquor store every day. And suddenly they feel like something bad has happened because how did I get here? Does this mean I'm slipping or backsliding? Take us into what really is it? I know what I have to do for me to say what I said in the clip, that I love me some trauma. I do that because I don't want it to put a flag on top of the Mount Lauren saying it conquered me. So tell us tell us, what are we supposed to do with this trauma?
All right. Well, just a little like trauma 101 here. The triggers that people experience, they come through our senses, whatever we see, taste, touch, feel, whatever, hear. And there's this little interplay that goes on in the mid part of the brain, kind of like a tug of war between the amygdala and the hippocampus. The amygdala will take a traumatic experience and just stamp it and say, there it is. You will always remember this. The hippocampus, which is side by side, the hippocampus wants to create new memories. And so it's trying to wrestle that imprint, let's say, of the traumatic event away from the amygdala and create new memories. Now, that's all going on in the midbrain, like deep in the center core of our brain. However, where a lot of people get stuck based on triggers, or you can just tell, just the body language stiffens, or just a flashback, or even very vivid dreams. I mean, that's all certainly relevant. But in order for people to process their trauma, all that traumatic experience in the hippocampus creating new memories, or wants to, has to go to the outer part of the brain where language is produced. And that's why probably one of the best Hollywood movies that I had seen regarding this total shock and overwhelmed was the movie Captain Phillips, where Tom Hanks's character is rescued at the end, and he's on a Red Cross ship, and he's being checked out and, tended to his wounds and all that stuff. And the nurse, she's just firing one question after another to him. And he's like, is this my blood? Am I okay? And she's like, okay, look at me. I need you to calm down, breathe. You're safe. I mean, very reassuring, but he was not there at all. Wow. And I think that's a God-given response to dealing with something so overwhelming. So we just don't, self-destruct.
Yes.
But sooner or later, yeah. But sooner or later, that numbness is going to wear off. And can we talk about it? Can we process it? Can we? I have kids who can't find the words, like, draw me a picture, paint me something. One girl who loves to create music, sing me a song, do something on the guitar, something creative to move that traumatic experience, not just to process it, but to also create new memories. To, like you said earlier, it has not beaten me. I'll always remember what's happened to me, but do I have the pain and the triggers when I remember events or something that's close to it, like the smell of, fire, or spearmint gum, or things like that. That's when we can tell. We'll always remember, like, oh, spearmint gum. I remember there was a time, but I can chew spearmint gum, and it doesn't have the same effect that it did maybe years and years and years ago, because the smell and the taste doesn't bother me. So nobody can tell you how long that's going to take, because everybody has their own internal resources.
A lifetime, decades before I was in my mid-20s when I finally grieved the loss of my second mom, the adopted one. And I didn't know that I hadn't grieved. I had no idea. All I remembered, if you'd have asked me about how I grieved, was my older brother pinching me during the funeral, telling me, don't cry, stop crying, buck up, be a man. And that's where it got pushed down. And so let me ask you something.
Sure.
When you said you will always remember this, so why do you think that is? Why do you think? I mean, because there are things that we forget that, like, oh, I have forgotten all about that. Some people can push it, but don't you remember? And then there was a girl in the yellow dress, and then we had, remember when those pancakes fell on the floor and the dog, all these intricate details, and you can't remember any of them. But then there are things that you wish you could forget like that, and you can't, and vice versa. Who's doing that upstairs in the big house known as the brain? Is that center you were just talking about? Those two?
Well, it's all part of it. That's how we process everyday events. It could be something traumatic. It could be just something pleasant. But in terms of memory, we have short-term memory, which is, what did you just have for breakfast? You can recall that quickly. But long-term memory stays with us for decades and decades and decades and decades, because we've attached meaning to those experiences. And that's why, you talk to elderly people, and they just, what is your name again? Who are you? And like, what? Okay, I just told you 5 seconds ago. But yet they can remember with great detail the first day of school because that was so meaningful to them. And over time, um, it's kind of interesting how the brain works. We have short-term memory and we have just different things we remember and so forth. Like, okay, that's wonderful. But whenever we've attached meaning to specific events, and we also take into consideration not just our knowledge or education levels or other experiences and so forth, over time, that doesn't diminish. In fact, it gets, better and better and better. And that's called crystallized intelligence. And that's where wisdom comes from. And that's why, loving, talking to the elderly people and just the gems of wisdom that they have, these isms or, just truths that they just drop out. And that's what I always tell the kids, it's like, go find an older person, sit down with your grandma and grandpa or great grandmother and just talk. What was it like when you were my age? And just listen to the wisdom.
I agree.
Yeah, they're not old and decrepit. They've earned all of their years.
Here's a question, Dr. Jim.
What
is it called and why does it happen when we're moving through our journeys, minding our business, thinking, oh, that's long in the past, and suddenly something that we buried or something that has been buried for us so that there's not a fracture, a crack in our mind. Back in the day, I remember hearing my granny and all them talking about, did you hear? Sister so-and-so from church had a nervous breakdown. They used to have nervous breakdowns left and right back then in the 70s. You know what I mean? And right, because, they didn't talk about mental health like we do today. People didn't really go to therapists. You heard psychiatrist. That was the main thing you heard of. Nobody wanted, that was a shame thing. She's crazy. Only crazy people go there. Right. So why is it, or what is it? What is that? What's going on when things start surfacing? Because I believe in this mindset. When things show up, it's because when it's time to know, time to remember, time to acknowledge, time to admit, whatever it is, when it's time to know, it's because something needs to grow. Something it's time for something to happen. Time is up. Talk about that phenomenon. What is that process? Okay. Is there a name for it?
Yeah. I mean, the big buzzword these days is awareness. Everybody wants to be aware. Okay. Are you ready for that though? And I agree. Like, why now? Why is it coming up now? Why are you remembering this now? What are you being called to take a serious look at?
Right.
And when, those memories are there and a person, it's like, well, that happened 25 years ago or 10 years ago or something. It's, I run them through 3 simple aspects that heal relationships. Guaranteed. And, I've seen it happen so many times in a very positive way. I always start with forgiveness. What are you hanging on to? How does those memories or that bitterness or whatever, how's that serving you? Like, what are you getting out of this? And what do you need to let go through your forgiveness or to release it? Right. And a lot of times we got to forgive ourselves. And that's the piece which trips up a lot of people, initially, I would say, because they're saying, well, 25 years ago, okay, I guess I can forgive that person. But I don't know. I couldn't get in the house to save the dog. I can't forgive myself for that. And that often turns into despair or disillusionment or even bitterness over time. But what I found is
we start resenting ourselves.
Well, we start to beat ourselves up. And then we run that mantra again that negative mantra in our head of like, it's my fault. I should have been there. I if I had a second cup of coffee and yeah. So I start them with forgiveness. And then I go from there, like when we work through forgiveness and releasing it, then we automatically shift to what does it mean to live in gratitude?
What indeed?
Because What's that?
What indeed?
Exactly. Because when there's forgiveness, and that's different for everybody. I believe forgiveness is a process. We just don't wake up one day and say, okay, all's good.
No.
But it is a process. But the more we open ourselves to forgiveness, even moving from like, well, I'm at 30%, and okay, what needs to happen to move me to 40%, and so on and so forth. But as we're working toward total forgiveness, it also opens up our heart to be more grateful, to live in gratitude, to walk in gratitude every day for the people in our lives, the very fact that we take a breath. The most simplest, basic things, we can start there and just, I'm grateful because I smelled some flowers today, or I'm grateful because somebody thought of me, or something, little things that spark that gratitude. And as we are reminded of how we live in gratitude, it makes it easier and easier and easier to pay it forward to somebody
Yes,
else.
it does.
And
Yes.
as we're paying it forward, that moves us into the third aspect, and that's unconditional love. Unconditional love. Can we love ourselves unconditionally? Can we love others unconditionally? Without saying, yeah, but I got this ace up my sleeve. Remember when you did that?
Oh, yeah. That's not, yeah.
Yeah.
I used to have an apology company. And it was many times the person that would hire me would say, I hope this does the trick. And he or she forgives me, because every time, everything I've done is just like they file it away in an index card box. And any little thing, oh, here we go again. Oh, this is just like in 1976 when you disappeared on me or whatever. And it has nothing to do with reality, but they haven't completely, they didn't completely whitewash, start over. They just painted over it. Now that they peeled the paint off to show what
Exactly. And
So-
I mean, we just came through the holidays.
Yeah.
And I found with my clients way back in August, people were starting to sweat Thanksgiving and Christmas because they have to be around family. And it's like, okay, I get that. I understand it. But have you all talked since last Christmas or last Thanksgiving and resolved any of that stuff?
Probably not.
Well, no.
They talk around it.
That they talk around it. And all it takes is you're at Thanksgiving and somebody reaches for that last biscuit and somebody makes the comment, I thought you were on a diet. Weren't you going to lose weight or something?
Ain't you the one supposed to be all healthy?
Boom. And then it just starts all over again. And it's like, you know what? I look at unforgiveness as holding on to and being weighted down and carrying this burden that, for to say, let's say I need to ask your forgiveness, Lauren. Okay, let's say, Lauren, I am so sorry.
Never in a million years. Okay, sorry.
And what I'm saying to you is, I need you to forgive me because I want to put this emotional burden down. I don't want to carry it anymore, and vice versa. I don't want you to carry it anymore. And that's what forgiveness does. It frees it up. Right. Yeah.
Now, the reason I was doing that, and it ties into what I wanted to move into next, the segue is into this.
Okay.
Pushback. Whatever we're trying to do to get over, get past, get through something. So for the greater good, including me. I can put myself in that equation. I need to make it work and understand it. But pushback from others around us, family, close friends, workers, co-workers, from bringing something up. Like, say, for instance, I've had clients who, one girl, I won't say her name, but she exposed that her father had molested her and then found out that he had molested her 2 kids. But when she went to bring it up and told them she was going to go to the police and all this, the kids were like, no, we don't want that out, da, 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 da. And long story short, they actually ended up trying to hire a hit person. And they got caught and went to prison, and she had to adopt their kids. Ooh. This really happened because they did not, or people who, like, say, a lighter example. I've had coaching clients who it's time to write their book, but they can't because they have to talk about a couple chapters about somebody who's still alive and nobody in the family wants. Don't put that out there. So what I'm getting at is sometimes we encounter roadblocks of a huge nature that we have to choose what we're going to do, or all of our healing comes to a sudden halt.
Right. Just that
screeching halt. Right. So talk about that. That sounds like I'm not such an easy nut to crack.
Yeah, it is not. There's so many like ramifications you alluded to, but I just want to make it clear, because I don't think I did the last time I shared. Well, on forgiveness, we can forgive somebody and love them unconditionally, but that doesn't mean we turn ourselves into a doormat. You know, we have to set those boundaries to say, you know what, I forgive you. You're not a safe person, and you're toxic or whatever, but I love you, but I have to set a boundary.
Long
toxicity. Yeah. And so I understand that people, once they get that little glimpse of what healing is all about for them, they want to tell the world. However, I think we have to bring in some wisdom. And is this going to cause more harm than good in the long run? You know, there's different ways to write a book, and you can use pseudonyms, or you can, kind of shift the story a little bit to get the main point
creative
across.
license, right? To protect the innocent.
Right. I mean,
if there are
the Dr. Seuss books out there, what the heck is a Lorax?
Right.
Some made up name, but the main point is taken. Stubbornness isn't good, or being obstinate isn't good, or something. So, I mean, we can get to the deeper truths without harming somebody, which may hinder their process of healing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now here's another one. We see this a lot.
Okay.
People who they did come through some legitimate trauma. They did live through something that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. However, Marsha, I am the martyr. Oh, they drag it out every time they need to try to sway something or someone in the direction they want it to go.
Right.
So that makes some people calloused when it comes to, you know what I'm saying? This trauma thing is like, if it were a print on a fabric, it would be times plaid to the nth degree.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Just lines going everywhere.
Right. And that's, again, that's that distorted template. People are just looking at themselves. This is all I am, or this is all I'm ever going to be. And a lot of people, I'll say this very delicately, a lot of people take advantage of the secondary gains that they get from having gone through something traumatic. Secondary
gains.
Yeah. And this is something, you listen to people, how they start conversations. And, like, I'm just throwing a name out there, folks. It's like you're at a party or something. You're like, hey, my name is Jim. Nice to meet you.
I know him.
Hi. My name is Jane. I'm an incest survivor.
I know her too.
And I really paid attention to how people lead with their woundedness. Like, that was such intimate, very delicate information, and yet you lead with that as if that's all there is to you. Because I want to get to know the person. It's like, who are you? But again, when a person latches on to their traumatic experiences to the extent where they prefer the secondary gains, or the pity, or the empathy, or they want empathy from others, or the sympathy, it doesn't move them towards healing. And Carolyn Mace,
if they healed, they wouldn't be able to lead with it.
Exactly.
Here it is. Some people choose to hold on to the poison, whereas some people choose to take the poison, extract it, and convert it, turn it into an antidote.
That's the perfect word right there.
For that same poison, and then help people through it.
Yeah. I use the word transformation, but converting it's the same thing.
Well, transformation, convert, right.
Yeah, same thing. But I was going to say, Carolyn Mace wrote a book that
and all this.
Decades ago. I guess that's safe to say. But she wrote a book, Why People Do Not Heal. And, she's like, everybody, just because they want healing, does that mean they're ready for it? In other words, are they ready to take on the responsibility of what that healing entails for them? Or are they willing to then give up the handicap placard? Or, I can go to the front of the line because of my condition. And that gets stuck in our brain sometimes. It's like, well, this is kind of nice. I don't like where I am physically, but I can get some privilege out of this. And, people who find the healing, they have to let go of, that victim mentality sometimes.
So that they can get to the positive side of it. And then
right.
I love trauma.
Yeah.
For me.
And that's the part of, reclaiming authenticity. It's like, you're not a victim. You're a survivor. And even more than that, you're not just a survivor. You are meant on this earth to thrive, meant to be on this earth to thrive. And so a lot of people don't know what that's like because maybe they've been beat down throughout life and all they know is surviving victimhood or surviving day to day.
Yeah.
What does that look like when you say, well, I care about you, I love you, and they have no concept of that because, maybe growing up or they've had one, rotten relationship after another where love was, somebody got ready to hit him in the face.
Yeah.
Like, I will love you.
Cisneros. His dad thought loving him was, he had broken his nose 9 times before he was 6 years old. His father had broken his nose 9 times before he was 6 years old. Because that's how he said, see, son, I'm toughening you up. That's how much I love you. He really did that. Now, I want to ask you this, Jim.
Yeah.
Dr. Jim, I want to ask you this. What do you say to people who say, oh, I've never experienced any trauma? Is that possible? That there is a person alive who has never experienced trauma?
Well, to a certain degree, maybe to a certain degree. Because one thing that leads to something overwhelming us that we would call trauma is that everybody, I don't care who you are, everybody, before we get out of this world, everybody's going to experience loss.
Right.
A loss of a job, or even a loss of, like say even getting married. Okay. Wonderful, wonderful experience. A lot of stress involved because you're leaving behind everything that which you have known and you're taking on something better, or you're taking on a new identity or a new role. And so what you leave behind, that's a sense of loss. And, where there's loss, there's grief.
Okay. Real quick, because of the time thing, we have about 5 more, not even. I want to ask you about this because a week from yesterday, on Martin Luther King's birthday, is Inauguration Day. How ironic.
Yes.
And right. And I remember when the election, I had clients who were going home from work. They couldn't make it through the day. They couldn't get out of bed. And and I remember that happened when Obama won. I had Republican friends who were devastated for a week. My one friend, Jessie, I go over to her business. She wasn't at work. Signs on the doors, open, closed till further notice. And I go to her house, she'd be laying there in a robe with her hair looking like a rat's nest because she was traumatized that Obama had won. Do we have a choice in calling something trauma sometime? I mean, sometimes do we blow it out of proportion?
Yeah, I
is
think
it real? Is that really a traumatic experience for her?
Yeah. I think so, because one of the definitions of distress and being overwhelmed is did something real happen to me, or is it imagined?
Perceived.
And it doesn't matter because it's our response. And again, there's such a huge loss, a significant loss, and the sadness, and like I thought, and people are just overwhelmed with that. And again, that's a grief issue. And okay, what were your expectations? And what were you hoping for? And now, what does that look like going forward in your life? Because after this past election, I don't know about you or everybody else out there in Radio Land. we had to get up and go to work in the morning.
Yes, you did.
Had to still go to the grocery store. We had to pay our bills. I mean, it really didn't make that much difference to us.
Right.
And so to hang our, delicately said, end all be all existence on outcomes, we're going to be doing this the whole time.
That's right.
Our emotions are going to go up and down
Right.
all the time. But how do we stay consistent?
Right.
And, it's like, it doesn't matter.
Real quick.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Real quick. We got about a minute left.
Sure.
And I have your link scrolling along the bottom, Reclaiming Authenticity blog. That's where people can go for your blog. But there's also this one, your BBS radio. Take them through how to listen again. There's a few steps real quick. And then I want to know, are you operating on telehealth? Provided the person has the right carrier or whatever, can you work with people anywhere in the States, or must they be in the state you're in?
They have to be in the state where I'm in, because my
you're
license
where?
is Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. So folks, if you're in the Pennsylvania area, and you'd like to hook up with Dr. Jim, there it is. But also, if you're not, you can still benefit from his wise wisdom and all that comes with it by tuning into his radio show. And again, how does that work again, Dr. Jim?
That works right there with the link. It's internet radio, so just click on that. And like I said, click on station 1, and that'll take you right to it. There's also, if you want to be part of the email listing, I'll give you my personal email, and I send out just before the show is to appear, flyers announcing the upcoming title, and all the information's on there to log on. But there's different ways, and these shows are podcasted to where they can listen again. They can listen to iHeartRadio, yep, or other places that are listed. But my personal email is houckj114@gmail.com, and I'll spell that out. It's
and you'll give it to me, and I'll drop it in the comments section at the conclusion, so that they'll be able to have it right there. Now listen, hang out backstage for a second. I want to thank you properly for today, Dr. Jim. I'll be right there. And I just want to say thank you so much for coming in today. We need to bring you back, because this is the kind of thing that I'm really thinking we might need to put together like a 90-minute special to kind of really get in there, especially kicking off the year, so people can just kind of take that scratchy, tight wool, wet sweater off and put on something, slip into something a little more comfortable.
That's right.
Like they say in those old movies, excuse me while I slip into something more comfortable. Right? I have always wanted to say that. So listen.
Didn't Mae West say that a long time ago in one of her westerns?
Probably. I know she said, come up and see me sometime. Right? Probably right. So anyway, another show. Listen, but Dr. Jim, I'd love to have you back. Hang out backstage. Thank you so much for everything today.
Yes, please do. I would love to.
Right, because we didn't even get into your books or any of that. And there's a lot to Dr. Jim, you guys. We're going to get him back. Don't you worry.
All right.
Listen,
perfect.
Now you guys get out of here. Go have the best day ever. How, Dr. Lauren? How do we do that? It's easy. Search for 1 E and 1 R. Take everything you already are. Great to greater. Bright to brighter. Kind to kinder. Nice to nicer. Bold to bolder. That's all you got to do. When you go to sleep tonight, you will know that you have done better. There's that ER again. Now listen, I promise, God willing, to meet all of you tomorrow morning over on the front porch, where together we'll have yet another illuminated conversation, because tomorrow Cheryl A. Pullins is in the house,
everybody.
And she's a wonderful person. Thank you, Dr. Jim. You guys go. Have the best day ever. And remember, don't you dare let my screen door slam on the way out of here. And Dr. Lauren absolutely loves you. And there's not a damn thing you can do about it. Tomorrow.
Right.
Have a great day.
Take care.
Thank you, Jim. Bye-bye.
Yep. Thank you.
Bye now.
Show me your soul. Baby, I'll show you mine. Show me your soul. Honey, it's way past time. How explicit do I have to be? Need I spell it out before you get it, baby? Show me your soul.